Hi, this is Jill Ciminillo, and in addition to being a drowned rat because of the unexpected snowstorm that we're having, I'm the managing editor for Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. And this week we are driving the 2021 Ford Bronco Sport in the city of Chicago. Now, because pretty much everybody has already done their review of this vehicle, we're not going to spend a lot of time going into the weeds and talking about the details and specifications. Instead, we're going to focus on how this drives in the city and some of the clever features that this vehicle has. I'm going to close the review with some of the things I like and some of the things that I don't like. There are a couple. But stay tuned and let's take a closer look right now. Bronco Sport comes with a base 1.5 liter EcoBoost engine that delivers 181 horsepower and 191 pound-feet of torque. But this is not that. This is the up-level 2.0 liter EcoBoost engine that delivers 245 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque. What I want to say is this engine is perfectly powered for this vehicle. It does everything that I want it to do immediately. There's no lag. Passing maneuvers on the highway are amazing. And all of the aggressive stuff that I needed to do in an urban environment is done pretty smoothly and seamlessly. So I don't know how the 1.5 liter engine operates, but I can tell you that the 2.0 liter engine is pretty amazing, and if I were buying a Bronco, 100%, that is what I would go for. While we have the engine compartment open, let's take a quick look at what is under here. And clearly somebody's had a little bit of fun of this because it looks like there's some muddy spots around in here. But that's beside the point. I'm in the city. I am not having that kind of fun this week. But let's just check out where things are located. So first off, dipstick right here, easy location in the center of the engine casing. You have your battery right here. So that also is going to be really easy to reach. Hopefully you won't have to deal with that, but if you did, it's easy to reach. And then the washer fluid is right there. So again, everything is in an easy to see and easy to reach location. So certainly something to appreciate on this engine. Before we get into seating positions, I want to talk a little bit about the interior of the Ford Bronco Sport because I want to make sure everybody's expectations are realistic when they look at this vehicle. This is not a luxury vehicle, so you're not going to get a lot of leather and up-level materials. The steering wheel, for example, is kind of a vinyl-y plastic. It's a little bit of a rough texture, but it doesn't bother me because it's in line with what this vehicle is supposed to be. So you'll notice that there's rubber around all of the dials. And I like that mostly, I mean, in addition to the way it looks, but mostly because you're not going to burn your fingers. So much about this vehicle is incredibly practical. And as long as you go into the situation understanding that, I think you're going to be really happy with the way this looks and the way it feels. One of my favorite things, in fact, is the fact that you have heated seats, yet this is cloth. Cloth heated seats heat up really well, and I've been thoroughly enjoying them this week in the Bronco Sport. Now, you're also not going to get the latest and greatest technology in terms of infotainment. This is Sync 3, and this is not a super large screen. I mean, frankly, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how it comes off on camera, but it's not that much larger than my phone, and I have an 11 Pro. But again, coming into this with realistic expectations and understanding what you're going to get, I think that most people will really appreciate and love the Bronco Sport, from its looks to its functionality to just its general drivability. So, a couple more things to point out here. You are not going to get wireless charging or wireless Apple CarPlay. You do have ports to jack in for CarPlay and to charge, and you've got a lot of nice little cubby holes to store your phone or whatever you would like to put there. I've been putting my phone here and it does really well. However, I will say it's kind of annoying when you have your phone here and then you are wired in down there. So maybe you want to put your phone down here instead. But overall, I love the interior. I love the finishing touches. I love the color accents. I love the stitching emblem design. You know, we are in the Badlands model, so some of this will not be on your basic trims, but I like it. I think it looks really good. I think it works, and it's more rugged than cheap. So before we move inside for the rest of my review, I want to point out two things. First off, Mother Nature is clearly mocking me because I made fun of Tim. He's currently getting a blizzard in Nebraska right now. But the other thing I really wanted to point out is the size of the Bronco Sport. It's actually pretty tiny. So I'm about 5 feet tall. And people have asked me for a size relationship in terms of how big it really is. I've parked between a Nissan Rogue and a Honda HR-V, and you can see it doesn't look terribly large in comparison. So it's relatively small, which is one of the reasons why, again, I think this makes a really good urban vehicle. Now that I've been completely dumped on with the snow and I really don't want to go back outside again, let's transition to some likes and dislikes that I have on the Ford Bronco Sport. And frankly, I'll start out by telling you there isn't a lot that I don't like. I really love the engine. The power is perfect for aggressive city maneuvers as well as merging into highway traffic. It has never failed me. It did not stall, or I guess I shouldn't say stall. It did not have any lag. And you have a button on the dash that you can turn the auto stop start engine off. So I did that every time, and I like that. I really love the graphic elements in here. So when you go into the GOAT modes, go over all terrain, you have a graphic display that shows up behind the steering wheel, and it has some really nice animations to it. And it's just one of those things that makes me smile, and I like it. So you know, you're normal and that's kind of boring. Eco, okay, yeah, you've got a leaf. But when you get into sport and you've got like the racetrack checkered flag, that looks really cool. You have the, when you go into slippery mode and it frosts over, that looks really cool. And, you know, when you go to, you know, into the mud and ruts, and you've got the mud sloshing onto the screen, and the rock crawl mode, and it looks like you're crawling up over some rocks. And so I don't know, Ford has done a really good job with their animations on the behind the wheel gauges, and I like it. It amuses me. I mean, it doesn't add anything to the performance or the life of the vehicle, but I like it. Another thing I love about the Bronco Sport is the overall look and materials that you see in this vehicle. Now, as I said, this is not going to be a luxury vehicle. You're not going to get a leather-wrapped steering wheel. You're not going to get a lot of soft padding and up-level finishes, but I don't care. This is not what that vehicle is. It is supposed to be rugged. It is supposed to just have a cool, rugged off-road appearance, and it hits that 100%. I love it. I love how it looks, and definitely on my like list. As I'm sitting here in the middle of snow in Chicago and it's cold outside, I can also say that I really, really, really love the heated seats, the heated cloth seats. And on cloth seats, the heat just somehow seems to permeate everything a lot better. And I'm completely frozen from those 2 minutes I was standing outside talking about the size, and the heated seats are just warming me from the inside, and I love them. So I use heated seats year round, and even when it's 100 degrees outside. I know I'm weird, but I like them and I love them here. So Ford did a really good job with that. And again, pairing them with cloth seats, total thumbs up. Another thing I like about the Bronco Sport is the high level of clever features and functions that you find on this vehicle. So when we were sitting in the back seat, the zippered pockets that you could put a small laptop or an iPad in, but there's also just a plethora of cubby holes and pockets to fit things in this vehicle. And not to mention the fact that there is a bottle opener when you open up the trunk. So speaking of the trunk, something else I really like back there is the fact that you can open up the whole door or just the glass window. I think that some people who have a more active lifestyle might like the capability of being able to pop something out the back window if they are going to have a bike or surfboard or something, skis, something a little bit longer that they need to fit out the window that isn't going to necessarily work because this is a smaller vehicle. So having that extra flexibility to pop something out the window, thumbs up. Finally, I really like some of the clever little details that you will see on the Bronco Sport, from the bucking Bronco on the steering wheel to the little Bronco Easter egg that you may be seeing over my shoulder there. It's just a little image of an old Bronco that you can kind of see when you look through your rear view mirror. Again, it's a little thing, but I really like it, and it was the first thing I noticed, and I was incredibly gleeful upon seeing it. It made me happy. Now it's time to move on to some of the things that I don't like on the Ford Bronco Sport. And I'll be honest with you, there really isn't that much. And most of the things that I don't like aren't really very major. So the first thing I want to point out is you have a really cool intro graphic when you get into the car behind the wheel, and you have another cool intro graphic on the center stack display screen, and they don't match. I really wanted it somehow to work together and have the images match. You know, if you have a shooting star behind the wheel, I'd love to see it move over into the center stack, or at least they could mirror each other, but they don't always match. And if somebody's OCD, it could bother them. Again, not a big deal. I think both images separately look really cool. I just wish they somehow work together. So another thing that I don't like about the Ford Bronco Sport is the Apple CarPlay Android Auto integration. And it's not the fact that it is not a wireless system. That doesn't bother me at all. The fact that you have to wire in to charge, wire in to access the system, 2 thumbs up. Totally okay with that. Now, what I don't like, however, is that I noticed that sometimes the system was a little bit glitchy. So say I'm listening to satellite radio, and then I'm like, oh, my phone needs to charge, I'm going to plug it in. Well, you plug it in to charge, and automatically it switches you into Apple CarPlay. But it doesn't do it in a way that makes sense. It actually takes you out of your XM radio and puts you into your iTunes Apple Music. And if I was in XM radio when I plugged in, chances are I probably want to stay in my XM radio even when I plug in, and I really wish that it would just leave me there and then I could adjust it as I wanted to. Now, I didn't do this every time, but it did it occasionally, and I couldn't figure out the pattern to how it was doing that and not doing it, and it kind of bothered me. Now, the last thing that I want to point out that is a miss on the Bronco Sport, and it's something that we've talked about in some of our other stories recently, and that's the fact that there is actually rust underneath this vehicle. And we did a story, the Ford F-150 and 2021 models are coming out of the dealers already having rust underneath on the undercarriage and the muffler and some of the bolts and screws and things like that. And so I was curious, and I figured, hey, I'm going to climb underneath here and I'm going to check it out. And sure enough, there's a lot of rusty bits underneath there. And jury's still out whether or not this is a big deal or not, because some people are saying it's normal. Some people are saying they would never buy a vehicle with this amount of rust underneath. And Ford themselves are saying that it does not affect the life of the vehicle or the performance of the vehicle or the parts. So we're digging into this, but for the sake of hey, I'm buying a shiny new vehicle, it was worth pointing out that the undercarriage and the underbits of this vehicle are not shiny and new. I anticipate this vehicle has been taken off the road. I anticipate that, you know, it's snowing right now. We have salt and, you know, things that they put on the roads here in Chicago that are probably going to affect the life of the underbits. But this vehicle only has 6,000 miles on it. So I would like it to be not rusty for a little bit longer than 6,000 miles. So in terms of driving impressions, the Ford Bronco Sport pretty much does everything that you think it's going to do. This is a rugged vehicle. It is not filled with luxury materials, and you know, the suspension is definitely more on the stiff and rugged side. So, you know, I'm driving in Chicago and you are going to feel all of the bumps, all of the grooves, and all of the speed bumps. So as long as you go into this with your eyes wide open and understand what you're getting into, personally, there is nothing here that is unexpected that has happened to me. Well, okay, I'm going to take that back. There is one unexpected thing about the ride and handling of this vehicle, and that is going to be the 2.0 liter turbocharged engine that I mentioned earlier. It's pretty awesome. I was very, 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 very pleasantly surprised about it. And I'm an aggressive driver. I'm Chicago through and through. I have quick starts. I have fast, aggressive maneuvers. When I'm trying to get on the highway, I pass. And this engine did not fail me once. It did everything that I wanted it to do exactly when I wanted it to do it, and I was incredibly impressed. Now, I'm not a fan of the auto stop start system. I will turn that off. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I will turn it off 9 times out of 10 because I don't like the lag that you get when the engine shuts off and then turns back on. But as long as that is off, you are not going to really experience any kind of lag or an interruption in the engine power, and I love it. So I can't really speak to the 1.5 liter engine, but the 2.0 liter turbocharged EcoBoost engine, you know, gets a huge thumbs up from me. Now, something I will point out, and again, this is all about your expectations again, this is going to have some road noise on the highway, and it's an upright vehicle. It's going to hit, you know, some wind noise coming in, and plus, you know, with the larger tires, you're also going to get some tire noise entering into the cabin. However, for me, this is not a deal breaker. It was something that I expected, and it didn't bother me at all. And frankly, didn't hinder any conversations I was having with my husband or the sound system. So just something to be aware of, but not something that bothered me. Now, because we are currently in the middle of a bit of a snowstorm here in Chicago, I do have my GOAT mode, my Go Over All Terrain. I do have that in the slippery mode, and definitely feeling like that is doing a good job for me. I mean, again, it's operating the way that you would expect it to operate. It's not really slipping, and you know, the sipes and grooves and the tires, they're all terrain tires. You know, they're very pliable, and they are doing really good in this cold, wet, slushy, icky weather. Plus, you know, I noticed that unless I slam on my brakes really hard, there really isn't a lot of slippage going on. So don't slam on your brakes in the snow. That would be a bad idea. But I did notice that, you know, when you slam on the brakes, you do get a little bit, obviously, of slipping. But nothing unexpected, nothing bad. It just is operating the way it should operate. Now, again, you have to remember, this is a vehicle that starts at about $27,000. And so you really aren't looking at this up-level, luxurious, cushy ride. But for what it is and what it does, I think that the Bronco Sport delivers on all of the promises as long as you go into it with your eyes wide open. At the end of the day, I really like the 2021 Ford Bronco Sport. I think it looks good. I think it drives really well, and I particularly loved the 2.0 liter EcoBoost engine. Now, obviously, there are a couple things that I don't like on this vehicle, but I don't know that they're deal breakers. Only you can decide that. I think that Ford has delivered on a promise. They've created a really fun, off-road, rugged capable vehicle. If you'd like more information about the Ford Bronco Sport, I hope you will visit us on the website at pickuptrucktalk.com, because we have covered this vehicle and its big brother Bronco extensively there. So thanks for watching, and I will see you down the road.